My name is Abhay and I share conversations with talented and interesting individuals linked to the global Indian and South Asian community. It's informal and informative, adding insights to our evolving cultural expressions, where each person can proudly say, "Trust me, I know what I'm doing." Happy Diwali to everyone, and on this episode, we welcome the one and only Madhuri Dixit. Stay tuned. Stardom. It happens to people, and people happen to become stars. Some stars flash and shoot across the sky briefly, and others twinkle with an everlasting glow. And speaking of glowing, thank you for listening to the show and sharing it with your friends and family, for subscribing, downloading, and rating the podcast, and for following us on social media at Dr. Abhay Dandekar. So for this Diwali, I've been thinking about the brightness of stardom, both illuminating the person who becomes a star when we first take notice, and how the person's own compelling natural light provides a long-lasting afterglow. Now for the iconic Madhuri Dixit, her stardom has been a lifelong journey of artistry and performance that's woven talent, confidence, and humility into an enduring and culturally relevant career. As a young actress and dancer from Mumbai, her talent blossomed through a succession of continued Bollywood hit films, transcending through generations of audiences, as well as her own life's lane changes of marriage, parenting, balancing, synchronizing, and reshaping, always staying true to her own explorations and diverse expressions. Now, the heaping evidence of this is both past and present. So just this past year, Madhuri has been showcased on the popular reality dance show Jhalak Dikhla Ja, on the hit Netflix series Fame Game, releasing a single in Tu Hai Mera, and just recently starring in the Amazon Prime film Majama, a true reflection of her broad skill set and love for performance. I was grateful to catch up with her last week to chat about it all, and for someone whose own Bollywood story arc and presence itself often represents Indian culture, it was nice to start off by talking about something so central to that, about the allure of people, festivities, family, food, and farar of a happy Diwali.
And I think Diwali means coming together of family and friends, and like you said, farar and the busyness of it all, time off from everything else, and meeting friends, celebrating it with family. म्हणजे आपल्या मुलांना पण, you can give them so much culturally, because this is a very festive season where people from all walks of life come together.
Right.
People of all religions come together and celebrate Diwali, which is the amazing thing for me about Diwali. That's the meaning of it for everyone, who celebrates.
Almost a connecting factor, right? Like it's sort of
Yes.
it's sort of a natural connective tissue for so many different people, no matter what walk of life you're from, what religion, like you
Yes.
said. Have you found that it's brought about some surprising connections in the past, and even ones that you hope for in the future?
Well, when I was in Denver, I lived there for 10 years.
Yeah.
And both my kids basically were born in Denver. And it was amazing to see the Indian community was so active, in all these, whether it was Diwali or Holi, we all used to come together and celebrate. And not just Indians, but also the Americans. And they were curious about our culture, and they used to come and celebrate Diwali with us or celebrate Holi. So it's basically bringing people together, not only in India, but, everywhere in the world. I think all the Indians come together with their friends, who could be Americans, who could be from any country. They used to go out of their way, like cooking in their houses, making all the farar, at home, and basically like just having a good fun time. But it also introduces your kids to the different festivities that we have, our culture, our traditions, which was amazing to me.
You are a Mumbaikar. You grew up in Mumbai, but you lived in the US.
Mhm.
And I'm just curious, especially with that same sentiment of passing something along, whether it's to your kids, to your neighbors, to new friends, old friends.
Right.
And especially,
Right.
in the last 2 years of the pandemic, how important is nostalgia in Diwali for you, as far as like not just keeping the tradition alive, but in some ways, kind of making new traditions.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Mumbai and in an area where Diwali was a very, very big celebrations. So they go out of their way to celebrate Diwali. So a lot of firecrackers and, mithais and homemade stuff. And we used to go from house to house wishing everyone a happy Diwali. And, the kind of
Akash Kandil, the whole thing, huh?
yeah, the kandil. We used to make kandils at home, especially for
Yeah,
Diwali. And farar. So we used to do chaklis and this and help
yeah,
mom to do everything.
yeah.
And go to different houses and taste all the different things that they made. That used to be our biggest, all kids used to get together.
Right.
And we used to go to each and every home in our building or, all the apartments around us. And we used to wish them Happy New Year and Happy Diwali. And we used to get all kinds of snacks to eat. And just the fun, that we
Yeah,
had
yeah.
was amazing at that time.
Do you miss some elements of that? I mean, it's obviously a little bit more challenging and difficult to do that now, or even try and recreate that now. And I'm curious if you miss some of that.
Well, I just miss, I mean, I feel that my kids miss that fun of just going out and going to people's house. You don't even know them, but you're just tagging
Right.
along your friends and going to different houses,
Right.
that feeling. And we used to feel very adventurous when we used to do that because we lived in like a society which was huge, and we used to go to any and everybody's house. So those kind of things which were amazing to me at that time is something that I feel our kids miss out on now.
Lots of discovery opportunities, right? Where,
Yes,
strangers
yes.
all of a sudden during Diwali become great friends.
Become friends. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
Just reflecting on this past year, you've had such a variety of performance roles, right? There's Jhalak
Yes.
Dikla Ja and singing Tu Hai Mera, the Fame Game, and now, of course, Majama. Um,
Yeah.
Having endeavors that are so diverse like this, have these each been in some ways additive, where they connect different dots for you together as sort of a bigger profile?
Yes, they do. Because, growing up, when I was in school, I always sang on stage. I was always on stage
Yeah.
because I used to learn. I learned dancing very early in life. At 3, when I was 3 years old, I started learning Kathak.
Yeah.
And because of that, in school, I used to be on stage all the time, doing plays, directing plays, dancing, doing folk dancing, group dancing, elocution, and singing, and the works.
Right.
And then I came into films, and I got so busy with films that there was hardly any time left to do anything else. That
Yeah.
I've always had pleasure, like performing or singing or whatever.
Yeah.
That took everything took a seat. And now when I'm back and I'm discovering myself and all over again, I think these are all parts of me, who I am as an artist.
Mm.
So I thought, why not? We have to be adventurous. We have to do something new in life. And I thought, with the encouragement of my husband, actually, he's the one who said, "You sing. Why don't you sing? You should. Why not? It's part of you. It's an extension of who you are." And that's how the album happened. And I released 2 of my songs, One Candle during the lockdown, and Tu Hai Mera after the lockdown ended.
Mm.
And there are 4 more songs I want to release.
Right.
So I mean, it's just that these are different parts of me, and I
Yeah.
love doing that. So for me, it was not very difficult, but it was not very easy as well. You put yourself out there, because once you do something, you're out there, and you're also up for scrutiny and people talking about it. But I thought, it's okay. It
Yeah.
all comes with the territory, and I am fine with that.
Yeah.
But I think one has to keep exploring oneself as an artist.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't want to stagnate in one thing and just do that. I think it's great to explore.
Did you have to come to some threshold of, having some courage to be able to say, yes, this is a leap I want to take? And did some of those leaps of faith offer you some surprises about yourself? Were there things that you learned about yourself this past year in taking some of these courageous
Oh
leaps?
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
you know, I've always been an adventurous kind of person, not in the physical sense. Like I won't jump off a building or some, I
You're
won't
not
do that.
parachuting
Jump
or
off a plane
skydiving
or
or
something.
anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Or like bungee jumping or something.
Right.
But where my art is concerned, I think I'm a little more adventurous. And when the opportunity came, and it's when Ram said, you should, because the album that I made is basically about the backstories of being a film star. So
Mm.
Candle was something when we wrote the song also with Raja Kumari, who
Yeah.
did the music and everything. We wanted to talk about how there could be any turmoil in your life,
Yeah.
but you always have to be that beacon of light who inspires everyone.
Yeah.
So those are backstories, but when you are in front of the audience, you are their aspiration or inspiration or whatever, and you have to be that all the time, whatever's going on in your life. That was what Candle was about. And then Tu Hai Mera was for my fans, like a love letter from me,
Yeah.
because it's always the fans telling you how they feel about you. But this time I'm telling them how I feel about them.
Yeah.
So, and all the four songs, other songs which are going to come out, are part of being the backstories of being an actress or being a film star. So
Yeah.
I thought that was it's my stories again,
Yeah.
my stories to tell. Sometimes you cannot say in words what you can say in tunes, or I thought that was a very unique way of telling my story.
Let me ask you this. I mean, at this stage, both in your life and your career, is it easier to be bold and take risks and take on roles that are unique and different and challenging?
See, not just because where I am today, but I've always done that throughout my career. Even when I had Tezab, Dil Beta Raja, Khalnaik, Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, or A Dil To Pagal Hai, or Devdas, which were like commercial films. I've
Yeah.
still done Prahar or Mrityudan, Gulab Gang or Dharavi, which were like offbeat kind of films, which were not commercial, which were
Yeah.
not big theater films, but they used to call it the art house cinema.
And I'm sure that you're equally as proud of those.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I was actually, when I wanted to do these, especially Mrityudan, everybody was like, no, it's an art house film. You're a commercial Hindi film actress. You should not be doing these art house films.
Yeah.
And I said, but I love the story. I love the character. It talks about women empowerment. And
Yeah.
that's important to me.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't care. I want to do it. And I did Mrityudan. And I think I've always taken risks. So when I did OTT again, especially Fame Game, it was also adventurous because during the lockdown, we saw so much OTT that I was fascinated because you can tell stories and you can develop your characters. You have 8 hours to do that. It's not something that you have to say in 2.5 hours.
Right.
And I feel every character has a backstory. So everybody's who's watching is invested in each and every character and they want to know what happens next. And I thought that was fascinating. And Fame Game was a very different role for me to play. It was not all white, and it was kind of in the gray area.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great, and it had a lot of comments on everything that's going on in the film industry, and I thought it was very very modern, very today. And then Majama, of course, is a very very different subject. It's LGBTQI plus
Yeah.
and their journeys, and I thought it was a story that needed to be told in today's
Sure.
day and age.
Yeah.
And so anything that fascinates me, I don't hesitate, and I have always taken risks. So for me, it's not really, I'm not afraid.
Well, and with that, the idea of the diversity, the risk that you've always taken, being adventurous in your art, I wonder if you've noticed that perhaps cultivates that much more trust with your audiences, knowing that you're not shying away from either the roles or from being able to express yourself through these stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do it wholeheartedly. It's not,
Yeah.
even in Majama, there's nothing cloak and dagger about it. In the first 10, 15 minutes, you know what the story is about.
Yeah.
And I have said it like it is. We have
Yeah.
not hesitated. We have not minced words. So I think that's wonderful, and it's great to know that people are watching it with their mothers, with their grandmothers,
Yeah.
and they all are discussing about it later on, which was something that needed to be done.
Sure.
Because through Majama, we are talking about acceptance. We are saying every family member is different and accept them for who they are,
Right.
and that's what the ideal situation would be. And that is what we are talking about. And there are a lot of stories behind that, because someone from the team on the Amazon Prime movie, I mean, she came and told us that her mother accepted her brother who was gay, I mean, after watching this movie, which was amazing to us, because it's
Yeah.
like, even if you can change a few minds, we are successful in what we're trying to do. So that is what that excites me about movies, like when you do them
Mm.
with the intention, and you can see that intention being translated into actions in the audience. I think, I mean, that's what we want, from movies. Because movies, what, imitation of life, art, and life imitates art, art imitates life. And if we can kind of make some issues, um, at least start a dialogue about them, I mean, that's our victory.
And do you feel like, in even beyond and going the extra mile of having a victory, having successful, wonderful stories like that you just shared about the team member on Amazon, is it a
Right.
responsibility that you feel for yourself? As it's not only just the achievement of the commercial success, but it's the responsibility perhaps you
Yes.
feel of sharing stories like this.
Yeah, trust brings responsibilities. When people trust you, you have to be responsible. And when Amrit and Anand, who's the director, Anand Tiwari, worked on this, they had talked to different NGOs who work with LGBTQI community, and made sure that there's nothing in the movie that is,
Offensive.
yeah, offensive, or basically incorrect. So they
Yeah.
had made sure that they worked with everyone, and also making us realize what their stories are. There's so many stories which we came to know about, and what they have to deal with, and those
Mm.
kind of things. And I think we had prepared very well
Yeah.
at the scripting stages also, so that everything is turns out the right way.
You're listening to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing. After a quick break, we'll come back to our conversation with Madhuri Dixit. Stay tuned. Conversation. It's the antidote to apathy and the catalyst for relationships. I'm Abhay Dandekar, and I share conversations with global Indians and South Asians so everyone can say, "Trust me, I know what I'm doing." New episodes weekly, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Welcome back to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing. Let's rejoin our conversation with the talented Madhuri Dixit. Let me ask you this. Is it almost required in the arts and entertainment industry, and as someone who has developed a celebrity and a brand, is it almost required for longevity that you have to reinvent and refresh and rediscover roles and, almost in some way, you're the responsibilities that you talk about like this?
Yeah, I mean, you have to keep reinventing yourself. You have
Yeah.
to think out of the box. You have to think, what new can you do. Also, with times, the changing times, what's happening
Mm.
around you, and what people would like to see, what they expect from you. There's so many things you have to think about.
Yeah.
But finally, it's the gut feeling. And when you hear a script, it's a gut feeling that, oh yes, I want to do this. Also, you have to see which team you're working with, who the director is. There's so many things that go into a movie.
Sure.
And you have to make sure you're comfortable with everything, and then you decide whether you want to do it or not. But of course, um, you can't keep doing the same thing again and again. You have to do
Sure.
something different, something that shocks people, something that takes them by surprise, or something um, that kind of makes them think about
Yeah.
life and what it is.
Or even telling the same story in a different way, and
Yes.
maintaining some relevance, right? So for
Yes.
someone to stay relevant, is being relevant about code switching and shape shifting and reinvention appropriately with what's trending, or is it actually possible to stay relevant among different audiences and different generations without actually straying really too far from who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't have to. By shock, I didn't mean like doing something that's out of character and say, "Oh my God, what happened to her?" Not that shock,
Yeah.
but the fact that you are doing something that is unexpected. You know,
Mhm.
that you're trying realms that maybe they thought you're not going to tread on, or something that is a surprise element, or something that is unexpected, by
Yeah.
the audience, that, oh my God, she's doing this,
Right.
so, and also, trying to break the constraints of, like, nobody expected a mainstream cinema actress to play a lesbian in a movie, because then it's not done, she cannot do this, a mainstream actress cannot be that.
Right.
But it's not that. We are telling stories. We are people, we are actresses. We are telling stories about different human emotions, but human characters, and we are playing different characters in movies. So you cannot think like that. You have to think out of the box and say, why not? That this is a story that needs to be told, and I'm ready to do that.
It's almost as if like the boundaries are constantly moving and that,
Yes, and you have to
there's.
push the envelope, every time.
Let me ask you a rather playful question when it comes to relevance and even how you define yourself. But I'm just so curious, as somewhat of a cultural icon yourself, do you ever Google yourself?
Yeah, sometimes.
And are you
Yeah.
surprised at sometimes what pops up?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It's like crazy what can pop up sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, and in some ways, I'm curious about how artists review feedback, right? Because other professions, or for that matter, even artists who are not in cinema or performing the same way you are, the feedback, of course, is either direct or applause. But when you make it to a certain stature and you're a cultural icon, the feedback you get sometimes has to be vetted and
No, it's okay. I mean, I truly feel that once you put yourself out there, you are putting yourself, you're opening yourself to all kinds of, comments, criticism,
yeah,
goodness, badness, everything.
sure,
And I take it in my stride, Sometimes there's constructive criticism, sometimes there's destructive. It's okay,
yeah.
it's all right. I mean, that's how I look at it.
Yeah. And is it healthy in some ways to have that kind of an attitude? Because otherwise I'm
Yeah,
imagining.
otherwise, yeah. I mean, if you try to read every comment and then start reflecting on every comment that's made,
Sure.
I think, it can drive you nuts or crazy or something.
Yeah.
As a person, what, I don't know how to put it in words. It's like, what criticism is, healthy and what is not.
Yeah.
So you just filter that yourself and you
Right.
say, oh, whatever, this
Yeah.
is like whatever. But yeah, maybe this criticism might be, good to read and, absorb.
Right. And synthesize in and process and
Yes,
adapt to your
yes,
ongoing learning.
yes.
For you, I'm imagining that has come over time and experience and confidence. And I'm really curious about if you remember when you first knew that you had skills as a performer and were aware of this confidence.
No, I would say, till I was in school, I was very confident. I was very, but once I joined the industry, it was very different, because there's so many comments that come from everyone. And especially, I did my first film Abode in 84, and then it didn't work out. But I loved what I did. I never thought I'd be an actress.
Mm,
For me, it was like something that was a hobby, and I would do something else because
sure.
everybody was very educated in my house, and the leanings were towards, academics than actually. And I always thought it would be my hobby. Maybe I'll do a play or something, or I'll always learn Kathak, and But when I did my first film, and I was like smitten, and I said, "Oh, this is what I want to do."
Yeah.
But the thing was, I kept getting work, but Success came a few films later,
Yeah.
and during that time when I was doing these movies, everybody, like, oh, you should do this, maybe she should put on some weight, and maybe this, maybe
Mm.
that. But that was when my mom, she stood by me like a pillar of strength, and she always used to give me the feedback saying that, one day when you have a successful film, the things they're criticizing you for is something they'll appreciate.
Right.
So success can do wonderful things. Don't even worry about it. All you worry about is your how you perform. Work with sincerity, work hard,
Yeah.
just concentrate on that, and success will come to you no matter what. And that's what I follow in my life.
Yeah.
And she's the one who actually gave me the strength, because I was young, that I used to think about it and say, oh, but this person said that about me, and maybe we should be doing this. And mom is nothing doing. Just
Mm.
be yourself, and that is what is going to work. So she's the one who gave me confidence and instilled that in me, that even today, like, I feel that, I feel her words in the back of my head. And that's what I tell my kids as well, that you have to be strong, you have to be like motivated always. Don't think about negativity. Just be very, very positive in life.
Sure. In that way, once perhaps the license of what your mom said sticks, then I imagine that the
Yeah.
confidence is always there. For you, have you ever had moments of, in some ways, overconfidence?
No, I think I'm humble enough to know
Mm.
that nothing is permanent in life, and anything can change at any time. Also, because my mom and my the way we were brought up is like, you're human beings first, then everything else. My mom
Yeah.
used to say that, your acting in films is just a profession. Your stardom and everything is on the set, but once you're home, you're just a person. You are my daughter.
You're right. You
You have to
normalize
clean your
out.
room.
That's right.
You have to clean your room. You're not a star in the house. You have to help me with my work and, do all that. So we were brought in a very, 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 normal way,
Yeah.
even my kids. And, that's how I've kept my house always very normal, very straightforward. Everything you do is, outside the house, but in the house, we are a family, and that's how we would be. So that's how I was brought up. And so that's
Yeah.
why I never really get carried away with my success or anything.
Sure.
For me, it's a victory as an artist. Yes, it's a victory for me as an artist, but as a human being, my family, my kids, my mom, people around me, my in-laws, they come first for me,
Yeah.
always. They are my priority.
Of course. I imagine that that same kind of mantra, if you will, as it leads back into your work, it probably means that you prepare for each role as it's a fresh one. And I also imagine that in some ways, I wonder if that's become sort of instinctive for you, and even a discipline as you really take your craft seriously.
Yes, yes. I mean, when I'm on the sets, I'm completely there. I'm completely with the character. And the moment I walk into my door in my house, all that is left behind. You
Yeah.
know. So when I prepare for my roles, it's not something that I live with. Like some people live with that role for three
Yeah.
months or 4 months, and they are in that zone. No, I can switch on and off. So
Mm.
when I'm on the sets, I'm the character, and I'm thinking about everything about the movie and what my character has gone through and my journey. Once I leave the sets, then that character is on the set. I When I come home, I'm just myself. I'm Madhuri.
Has that become easier as you've gone along in your career?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
See, when I started working, we used to do 3 shifts at a point, 2 shifts, like working for 2 different movies at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you start thinking so deeply about characters, we would have gone crazy by now.
That's
So
right.
for us, it was like we used to switch from one character to the other character
Yeah.
on the second shift.
Yeah.
So if we are shooting from 9 to 6, then we shoot from 6 to 2 in the morning for another movie, you know.
Yeah.
And so we used to like switch on, switch off kind of personality, and we had to develop that. So it comes very naturally to me too.
Sure. I'm wondering also that with that, as you've been able to take that and make it so natural, the pandemic changed a lot of this, and I'm certain that for many people, the pandemic changed their kind of ability to synthesize and process and in some ways kind of leave their work at the door and change that when they're, in a home environment. I'm also curious for you if the pandemic, if you think it made you a better listener, that you were able to be a better observer of like the things around you.
Well, I've always been an observer and a listener. I've always been the quieter person.
Mm,
Um, but I think what the pandemic brought across to us is that, there's so much we don't know about ourselves. There's so much we can do that we
yeah.
don't know about because we are doing everything else in our lives. We're so busy with our work. We're so busy with that. We don't have time to think of anything else. We don't have time to explore ourselves otherwise.
Yeah.
So when I think about the lockdown and, Candle was released during lockdown and we had shot the video in my house. And my
Yeah.
husband, who's a cardiothoracic surgeon, had to go to YouTube and Google and find out how to place I know how to place the cameras, but the lighting is something that we don't know how to light up a thing. And we
Yeah.
did it and we
Yeah.
made a video of it and we released it and people loved it.
Yeah.
So I mean, we were like, oh my God, we did this right in the house.
Yeah.
My kids love to, they are good at music. They play different instruments. Like one of them drums and plays piano. The other guy plays any instrument you can give him. So we jammed a lot. So there are so many things we discovered about ourselves, and we did a lot of
Yeah.
planting, like house plants. And I thought that, we miss out on so many things that we could do because of the regular kind of life that we have, the work home kind of life that
Yeah.
we have.
Yeah.
And I think the lockdown gave us that that time,
Sure.
to investigate and explore the other side of us, which was amazing to me.
Almost tap into the things that you were already listening to and observing, but now you had, more space to be creative about it as well.
Exactly. And how creative we can be. And I think a lot of people after COVID are, moving into smaller kind of communities.
Yeah.
And they prefer working from home than actually going to work. And that's another thing that, people discovered that you can work from home as efficiently. But of course, what happened was we couldn't meet our friends. And I think that was the downside of
Sure.
COVID, where kids who were students who are going to school on virtual schools. I mean, it was crazy time
Yeah.
because I saw my
So
son.
hard.
They
Yeah.
struggled. It was so hard, and those 2 years were very hard on kids because they missed on the social interaction that they have with their friends when they go to school, and those kind of things. And I think that interpersonal relationships that you have when you go in person anywhere
Yeah.
is something that we missed out on those 2 years. And when people did come out, there were so many incidents where people were talking about how humans have forgotten how to behave in
That's
public,
right.
and those
Yeah.
kind of
How do
stories.
you hug someone? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it was
You
it
know,
was crazy time.
you're listening to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing. After a quick break, we'll come back to our conversation with Madhuri Dixit. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing. Let's rejoin our conversation with the talented Madhuri Dixit. One thing the pandemic definitely did was it magnified what the kind of subculture of instant gratification and social media and all the different things that are part of entertainment these days. Do you think that, today, that today's culture of instant gratification and thinking a little bit about the immediate and instant glory that you get from a social media post or a TikTok video, etc. Do you wonder if that ignores or even brushes aside all the hard work and patience and rigor that's required to succeed as an artist?
Well, that'll always be there. I mean, you do require rigor, you do require patience, in today's very instant world. Will that really translate to longevity is something that we have to see. It's all instant. Will it be just for now and just for a few years and then it fades away, or will people be able to hold on to it for a longer time and give it and give themselves more time to develop and progress and become better artists or better people, or whatever. That has to be seen.
Because I think about your career arc, and audiences and people have cultivated a long-term relationship with you from the very beginning. And even for those who are new to your performances, your arts, they've followed you for a long time through your own journey. How can new artists cultivate that if the life cycle of content sometimes means that, it's old after a couple of days?
Yeah, but there are stories which are forever, and the emotions are going to be forever. It's not instantly gone. Sadness, happiness, victory, failure, all these are going to be part of everybody's life forever.
Yeah.
And when you portray as an artist, you portray different characters. All those emotions are part of the characters. So they'll always be there. You cannot say that victories are going to end by this year. It's not going to happen, or failures are not going to happen anymore in life, or you're
Right.
not going to feel happy or sad or these different emotions in your life. So in that sense, of course, art will always have a longevity, but it's the stories you tell. What kind of stories do you tell?
Sure.
Like some stories are just to be enjoyed and forgotten. Some stories are to be remembered. Some stories are to be thought about later on. And some stories give rise to discussion, And so those stories will always be there.
Let me ask you this, as a creator, as an artist, as a leader, what needs to perhaps change in the industry or in the general art and media culture to provide women with more creative and, in some ways, financial power and the levers to advance the cause of other women even further?
Well, I think we need more writers who can place like women in the central characters. We need um, we need an audience that are ready to accept like female oriented movies, and they don't really have to slot you in any genre. I mean, you can make any kind of films with the woman as a center of it. Like, I think there's some films which set an example, um, where artists have played central characters. But what happens for movies? I mean, ageism, sexism. There's everything out there. It's a
Sure.
patriarchal society, and to break that, I think it's going to be like one little brick at a time. You have to. I mean, women will have to keep working towards that.
Yeah.
And they do have support from men as well, because when I did Fame Game, it was written by a man, or when I did Majama, it was written by a man. The story.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole society together. They have to come together and support women empowerment, or how a woman is viewed in our society. There's so many things we can talk about. Like there's disparity in the wages, there's disparity everywhere, whether how much screen time you get or you don't get. But I think we will have to keep working at it.
Other industries, there is massive sometimes disruption, right? That like Uber completely changed the transportation industry, and Airbnb has disrupted, say, the hotel industry in some ways too. And in the same way, do you think that women in the industry need some kind of seismic, massive shift? Or is it the long game, the patience to keep going? Because I'm curious whether artists at some point lose patience.
I think it's a long game, but when you have something like OTT, that has made women centric films possible, and series being made around women, like
Sure.
for example the Fame Game, or even what's that movie about chess, Queen's Gambit. That was a woman who carried the whole series, and so many of them are being made
Sure.
because OTT does not have the pressures of the Friday release how much money is going to make,
Yeah.
whether it doesn't have all that. And it has given writers, actors, the freedom to choose the kind of roles they want to play, the kind of stories that want to be told in the language it's wanting to be told.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful, and that's one area which has captured the woman. And I think over time, or as the audience also matures, I think it'll also start working in the theaters, like in cinema. But like you said, it's a long game. It's not going to happen overnight.
Do you find yourself in the role of trying to role model these kinds of actions and activities, almost like serving as a, I wouldn't say necessarily a mentor, but more like a lighthouse to guide people, through some of these navigations?
Well, it has not been a conscious effort,
Mm.
but I don't know. It somehow worked out that way.
Yeah.
I just did.
Right.
I just did roles that appealed to me, and I've never hesitated to
Mm.
do different things. Like I said, I did art house cinema while doing commercial. I did TV
Yeah.
when people thought, oh my God, women shouldn't be on TV. I did reality shows like Jhalak Dikhla Ja or a Dance Divane or So You Think You Can Dance. I did OTT, or I did, a film for,
Yeah.
which is Prime's first original Hindi film, which is very, very different from my other roles. And so I think I've just tried to be adventurous and do different things. And it just so happens that, it worked out and everybody's like, oh my God, this is great.
Yeah.
But I think when you're working hard and you're putting yourself out there, of course, there will be a lot of things you'll think about, even the negative things. Oh, what if it
Yeah.
doesn't work? Or what if it. But if you keep thinking about that, then you'll not do anything that's adventurous.
Mm.
Sometimes you just have to give in and say, hey, I want to do this and I will.
And do you like or appreciate being in a position or a role where that other women and men who are out there are seeing that as a
Well,
indirect modeling, so to speak?
no, I think not just me. I mean, there's so many different women who have done that over the
Sure.
years. Broken the glass ceiling, as they call it.
Yeah.
And if you can be one of them, I think it's great. But you're not the only one.
Sure.
There are
Sure.
other women who are also taking those strides and making sure that they set a path which others can follow, and that has to keep happening.
Yeah. Do you get motivated perhaps by what your legacy will be?
Mm. Uh, I mean, the motivation is there because I always want to create something that's different. And whatever I do, I think will be the legacy for, others. But I don't know if it's like a conscious thing that I'm doing, or oh, I have to do this so others can, do the same. But it's something that comes instinctively to me, and I say, oh, this is something I should be doing. But then if it becomes a path breaker and people say, hey, this was great and we would like to follow this, then it's very organic. It just happens.
Yeah.
So I think my journey has been very organic, not really planned as such.
Sure. Let's pretend that we're having another conversation a year from now, Diwali 2023.
Hmm.
What do you hope we'll be talking about at that time, reflecting back on another year?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe doing other things that are amazing, doing things that are very human. I would like to do more with UNICEF, and which I have worked with before. I've done a lot of
Yeah.
things with them for women and children, and influencing the society in that sense also, and being more active in that realm. Also, I mean, my kids are growing up, and watching their journey and seeing what they are doing, and what kind of lives they are shaping for themselves. And of course, the whole journey as a family in our different professions, and also seeing the world becoming a better place.
Sure. You're a mom, you're an actor, you're a singer, you're multi-talented, you're a wife, a daughter. You play so many different roles. I'm so curious if you think about all of them together, they form a unique single person. But what do you find brings you on a day-to-day basis? What do you find brings you day-to-day joy?
I mean, little things. I think as a mother, of course, if my kids are doing well and they're in a good place, they're happy, and that brings me great joy. As a wife, when I see that my husband's happy and everything is great, and my mom's well situated, every little thing, like, and I have a dog, and Carmelo
Mm,
brings me great joy every
right.
day. And we always say that we got him during lockdown, and he's been our biggest blessing in the house, because he was a puppy and he was growing up with us, and there's so many funny things he did, and every day used to be a great joy. And whenever you come home, he greets you like you're the only person in the world he loves. And
Right.
it's crazy. So every little thing that happens brings
Yeah.
me great joy.
Again, the little things.
The little things,
Yeah.
and those are the things that matter in life, finally.
One last thought, and that is, for probably the very few out there, but still meaningful, for those who might be experiencing your performances, your art, your roles for the very first time, they're discovering Madhuri Dixit. When they're finished viewing a performance or experiencing your art, how do you hope they feel?
First of all, I hope they like it. Secondly, I
Right.
hope that they feel whatever's been said through the story or my character stays with them, and they think about it. And sometimes you watch a film, and it kind of make you think. Even when you're sitting by yourself, it makes you think about the story. It makes you think about the different characters that you just witnessed. Because filmmaking is not just about one character in the movie. It's about teamwork. It's
Mm.
about how in Majama, her identity is influencing her husband's life, is going to impact her son's life, is going to impact her daughter's life, and even the in-laws' lives. So her identity is going to affect all those lives. And you can, when they go back and they think about each and every character that is getting affected, and how the topic is going to affect their lives, like
Mm.
how what they think about it. So if it makes them think about all these things, then I think that's the impact I'd like to leave.
Well, Madhuri, I know that you're leaving such great impact on so many different people, and we're all grateful for it. Thank you so much for joining us for a conversation, and I hope we can do this again in the future.
Sure. Thank you. Nice talking to you.
Thanks so much, Madhuri. And catch Madhuri on Majama, streaming now on Amazon Prime Video. Hope everyone has a safe and healthy Diwali. And check out more episodes of Trust Me, I Know What I'm Doing at abhaydarndekar.com and wherever you get your podcasts. If you happen to be enjoying them, please rate and review the show. Till next time, I'm Abhay Darndekar. Every story told is a lesson learned, and every lesson learned is a story waiting to be told. I'm Abhay Darndekar, and I share conversations with global Indians and South Asians so everyone can say, "Trust me, I know what I'm doing." New episodes weekly,